Welcome to the Lupine Protocol. In the vast archive of the unexplained, few pieces of evidence have been so endlessly scrutinized, debated, and revered as the one we are examining today. It is a silent, shaky, one-minute film that has generated millions of words and launched thousands of expeditions. It is the Mona Lisa of monsters, the Zapruder film of cryptozoology. We are, of course, opening the case file on the 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film. Our goal is to go deeper than ever before, to dissect the context, the characters, and the controversy of the footage that claims to show a living, breathing Sasquatch. To truly grasp the film's impact, we must first transport ourselves back to the cultural landscape of the 1960s. It was an era of profound curiosity and conflict. While humanity was reaching for the stars in the great space race, a counterculture was emerging, one that looked inward and toward the natural world for answers. The abominable snowman of the Himalayas had already primed the public consciousness for the idea of giant, hairy, human-like creatures hiding in the world's remote corners. And in America, the legend had a name: Bigfoot. That name was born just 9 years before our story begins in the very same region. In 1958, a bulldozer operator named Jerry Crew, working in Bluff Creek, California, began finding enormous 16-inch footprints around his construction site. The press sensationalized the story, coining the term Bigfoot, and it captured the public's imagination. A small but dedicated community of amateur researchers emerged, men like Canadian journalist John Green and Swiss-Canadian René Dahinden, who began meticulously documenting sightings and footprint casts. This wasn't just a random ghost story, it was a budding field of inquiry, and Bluff Creek was its ground zero. Roger Patterson was a student of their work, and he was determined to be the one to finally get the proof. Roger Patterson was a complex figure, a former rodeo champion from Yakima, Washington. His life was marked by boundless optimism, a knack for showmanship, and a string of financial hardships. He was an inventor, an author, and by 1967, an obsessed Bigfoot hunter. Diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, Patterson felt a sense of urgency that few could comprehend. His 1966 self-published book, Do Abominable Snowmen of America Really Exist?, was filled with his own sketches of the creature. Interestingly, these pre-sighting drawings bear a striking resemblance to the creature he would later film, a fact that both supporters and skeptics seize upon. Supporters say it proves he was a keen researcher who knew what to look for. Skeptics argue it was the template for a pre-planned hoax. His partner on the expedition was Bob Gimlin. A rancher and experienced outdoorsman, Gimlin was Patterson's anchor to reality. He was more pragmatic, less of a true believer, but he was a loyal friend and respected Patterson's passion. Gimlin's role in this story is crucial. He was the quiet witness, the man whose life after the incident speaks volumes. Unlike Patterson, Gimlin largely shunned the Bigfoot circuit, preferring a quiet life away from the controversy, a fact that many point to as a sign of his credibility. On the afternoon of Friday, October 20th, 1967, the two men were riding up the dry creek bed. The landscape was rugged, littered with fallen trees from a recent flood. As they navigated their horses around a particularly large, overturned root ball, the animals suddenly reared in terror. Gimlin's horse spun, while Patterson's fell, trapping his leg. It was then they saw it. From a crouched position on the creek's sandbar, a massive, bipedal creature rose to its full height. It was covered in dark hair, and for a fleeting moment it looked at them. The next seconds were pure chaos. Patterson struggled to free himself, yelling for Gimlin to grab his rifle. As Gimlin steadied his horse and drew his weapon, Patterson frantically retrieved his rented 16mm Kodak K100 camera from his saddlebag. It was a wind-up camera, a simple machine with no zoom and a limited film capacity. He scrambled to his feet, flicked it on, and began running across the uneven creek bed toward the figure, all while trying to keep it in frame. The resulting footage is a masterpiece of frantic, raw documentation. For 59.5 seconds, the world sees what Patterson saw. The creature, now known as Patty, strides away with a powerful, fluid gait, unlike anything human. Its long arms swing, its head turns, its powerful legs carry it across the sandbar. In the now legendary frame 356, it glances back over its right shoulder, its face a dark, impassive mask, before it melts back into the dense California wilderness. The encounter was over. An overpowering musky odor hung in the air. Patterson had run out of film. Deeply shaken, they regrouped. Gimlin, the experienced tracker, followed the creature's path until the prints vanished into the forest's thick undergrowth. They carefully made plaster casts of two of the clearest footprints, each measuring over 14 inches long and pressed deep into the soil, suggesting immense weight. Knowing that they had captured something monumental, they rode out of the woods, guarding the canister of film like a holy relic. Patterson immediately understood the importance of the film. He flew around the country, showing it to any scientist who would agree to a screening. The initial reaction from the mainstream scientific community was overwhelmingly dismissive, writing it off as a prank or a man in suit without any serious analysis. The public, however, was captivated. The film was featured in popular magazines like Argosy, and the story spread like wildfire. The debate had begun. The arguments for the film's authenticity are compelling, and they go beyond simple eyewitness testimony. Dr. Grover Krantz famously said the film would either make him a fool or famous. He analyzed the biomechanics relentlessly, concluding the creature's gait with its bent knee progression and unusual foot flexion could not be replicated by a human. He calculated the creature's weight based on the depth of its footprints to be several hundred pounds more than any human actor could manage while wearing a bulky suit. Dr. Jeff Meldrum, a professor of anatomy and anthropology, focused on the footprints. He pointed to evidence of a mid-tarsal break, a flexibility in the middle of the foot characteristic of apes, which allows for better navigation of uneven terrain. This anatomical detail, visible in the film and in the casts, is not present in the rigid arched foot of a human. Adding to this are dozens of analyses by film and special effects experts who contend that the suit itself is the problem. They see no zippers, no seams, and most importantly, they see real muscle movement. The quadriceps, glutes, and trapezius muscles contracting and relaxing in a way that would require a level of animatronics and prosthetic technology that simply did not exist in 1967. Even Soviet scientists, like Dr. Igor Bortsev, who studied the film as part of a state-sponsored homology program, declared it authentic, adding a strange Cold War-era validation to the footage. Yet for every expert who vouches for its authenticity, there is a powerful argument for a hoax. The skeptical case hinges on Patterson's character and the later confessions of alleged participants. Patterson's financial desperation provided a clear motive. He had already demonstrated some amateur filmmaking ability. Could he have planned this entire event as a last-ditch effort to solve his money problems and secure his legacy?
The man-in-suit theory received its biggest boost from Bob Hieronymus. Decades after the event, he claimed that Patterson paid him $1,000 to wear a modified horse-hide costume. He described how Patterson directed him, telling him to walk with a specific swagger and to perform the iconic backward glance. Several of his family members and friends corroborated his story, claiming he had told them about it at the time. However, his story has been plagued by inconsistencies regarding the suit's construction and appearance, and his physical proportions, according to many researchers, simply do not match the towering figure in the film.
Then there was Philip Morris, a costume maker who also claimed involvement, asserting that he sold a gorilla suit to Patterson. But his story also shifted over time, and the suit he produced as evidence was a poor match for the creature on film. These confessions, while compelling on the surface, crumble under detailed scrutiny, leaving skeptics with a strong motive but no definitive smoking gun perpetrator. The film's legacy is immense. It single-handedly elevated the Bigfoot legend from regional folklore to a global phenomenon. Patty's silhouette became the universal symbol for Sasquatch, influencing everything from episodes of The $6 Million Man to countless documentaries and modern monster-hunting reality shows. It became a cultural touchstone, a symbol of the untamed wilderness and the tantalizing possibility that our world is not as fully mapped and understood as we believe. In the end, the Patterson-Gimlin film endures precisely because it is a perfect enigma. The evidence for its authenticity is just as compelling as the circumstantial evidence for a hoax. It forces us to confront the limits of our own perception and scientific dogma. Was October 20th, 1967, the day two cowboys stumbled upon a living relic from our evolutionary past? Or was it the day a desperate showman and his friend perpetrated a fraud so brilliant it has yet to be definitively debunked? This case file, like so many others, remains open. The film is a question mark projected onto the canvas of the American wilderness. The evidence has been presented. The conclusion, as always, is yours to draw.